What's going on, guys? Welcome to Sean, just in time.
Just in time. Well played, sir.
At the bell. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the dojo. Last minute we got Sean, we've got Ray, we've got Nathmar. My name is Carmen, and we're gonna jump right into it. 1 hour coverage of the chaos of the week, and we're just gonna start. I think open the floor. Nathmar, look at that adorable cutie.
So cute. Hey, doggy.
Fantastic. So, thoughts on the week? I'm just going to throw it right at Nathmar because I feel like he's got a lot to say. I can't wait. What do you got?
I don't know. I'm deflated. You guys all know I'm deflated. I did not get any drops. I did not get Strange Hat Academy. I did not get Daredevil. No Mickeys, no Mighties, got no drops. And then I see a lot of people, the usual people, get the same drops and they get multiples of the drops. So I'm really deflated, kind of annoying. And I'm trying to still debate on what my strategy is, like with all these bots. So, I mean, I'm pinging you guys like during the chats, right? But it's been kind of crazy because I've been busy with the family. But I'm still trying to figure out what the strategy is to beat the bots. But the most important thing is I don't want to feed them, right? I do not want to give them more money than they already got. They already got freebies, and now they're trying to cash in and get our money on top of the freebies. So I'm holding. Right now, I have not bought. I only bought Strange Academy. I bought a low mint one, so I'm kind of okay there. I'm waiting for all of them to kind of drop before I look into buying one. Probably wait maybe at least 3 weeks or maybe even more for a couple of the prices to settle down and make sure that there's less bot activity, hopefully. So I'm going to hold my ground, So, but for me, I hate it because I really want the Mickeys. I really want all these Mighties that came out today. I really want Gwen. And it's hurting me, as a collector. I'm feeling the pain that I don't have any of them. And then I see this one guy in another group who got 2 of them, and he got the SR, and he pretty much got every drop for the last couple drops. It's kind of frustrating, right? So I don't know what to say. I'm deflated. I'm trying to be here still. I still love my NFTs, but I will have to rethink my strategy, and I'll bounce it off you guys because I feel like you guys understand the pain.
All right, so let's go, Sean. Let's go with you. Where are you at?
I agree with all that, basically. I mean, usually I would, the stuff I like, I'd start stacking it right away. But, like, I'm also hesitant to spend a lot of money. So I've just been buying one copy of stuff in low mint that I like and just putting it in my PC for now, just so, if I change my mind later, at least I have the most expensive version of what I wanted. But as far as, like, stacking goes and stuff, and, like, rumors of having, like, between 2 and 5 million users, and, like, 1 million of those could be, like, bot accounts, theoretically. Like, that's a lot to compete against. So, like, at this stage, it's almost like they need to be making announcements about that lobby because people are getting super frustrated. I mean, there's people that have put $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 into this app for David Yu, and at that point, he probably should start making daily announcements, or at least monthly announcements. Like that's a lot of money for individuals to be putting in there without an MTO or even a crypto off ramp.
Right, makes sense. Ray, what do you think?
I mean, I have to agree. Both Sean and Nathmar hit it right. I am hesitant to put new money in. I still am bullish on the overall outcome. I do think so. I looked. January 16th was the last AMA. That means the next AMA should be, because typically they're like bi-weekly, I think. So the next one should be coming up soon. I haven't seen anything about it, but IMX migration is done. It's fully complete. That is, I assume that is a major muscle movement within VeVe. So what does that mean for me as an investor? Well, I better not hear any more about that. It's done. You can shake, clap your hands. But all right, what's priority number 2 now? MTL, bot lobby. What are we actually doing? Because now you take all those resources that have been, I'm sure, working long hours on the IMX migration. Well, now all those assets have freed up, and it's not like they don't have very much money right now, right? We just heard about their hiring. So I think that the next AMA is going to be crucial for me to kind of gauge, all right, well, the company did the IMX. Now that we're here, what now? And let's get some hard facts. So deflated, and I think that just on the off thing, something from this week that really got me is I think we're starting to see a pretty big drop pattern that I don't know if it's all the newer users coming in, not too positive, but you can see these shoots out of the gate way up. They rocket back down, and then by, I don't know, we're going to see, but usually by 10 p.m. Eastern time, the prices have gone back pretty high again. So I'm kind of waiting to see if you can read the patterns. The secondary markets are pretty free. I think there's some good money to be made on the marketplace the day after the drops, but
that might be how we beat the bots too, is figuring out a timing schedule that, like I said, I was looking at it all day today because I had the day off and I had anything to do today, and I was looking at Spider-Gwen all day, and like for sure I saw walls get taken down, I saw bots get caught, I saw all sorts of shit happening. I mean, I saw a wall at 220, and bots were buying everything below 220 at one point, and then those got taken down, and then prices regulated, and they became normalized, and they started going downwards because that was normal. They were overpriced. And then they put a wall up at 160 again, somebody else with a bot or whatever. I mean, you can tell when there's a wall up from a bot or some auto-clicking software because like the listings keep stopping every single time at that exact number. That's, you'd have to be a moron to think it's anything else at this point. So
yeah, we're in a really weird place, and I'm not saying I don't know who to trust, but the bot thing is a concern. But I guess I'll start from kind of where my brain is. Just a quick review of the week. This week we got Strange Academy early, and I think that's a book that you can beat the bots with if you're a comic book fan. Like, there's opportunity in Strange Academy. DD25 was supposed to drop on Thursday, and then MTO, the IMX migration stuff happened, and I think that's a good example of people getting caught up in not knowing what they're buying, and you're buying, that drops, and people are paying $30 for that book, and I'm looking around like, you could buy a graded 9.8 of that book for $65 right now, like at any store that has them, right? Like, so I think there's some ignorance there, and I don't know if that's I don't know if that's good, because that means we have a ton of new users, right? Like, I think if DD25 dropped 3 months ago, I think it would have sat. I think it would have been like an $11 book because no one would have been hyped on it because the only people in the market were us, and you just know what it is. So I like seeing people buying a bunch of stuff, but it just like when something like Spider-Gwen drops or anything drops, and even the Mickey this weekend, the walls are crazy, and you can't really get in unless you have money. But
yeah, you're almost forced to buy low mints. Like, you're literally almost forced now. If you want to maintain a portfolio that's going to have a net positive, you almost have to now.
Yeah, unless you can scoop at the very floor. But like, good luck. You'll get beat every time.
So I think you made a good point. I like that. I think that's one way we, as like true comic book collectors, can get ahead. If they keep doing a lot of drops and not all of them are keys, they're gonna waste their money on like these DD25s and these other ones. Versus us, we're gonna focus on the bigger keys, right? The FF1s and the ASM1s. We know those are the true keys. So I think maybe if they spread out the drops to make it vary, that they're not all keys, that might be beneficial for us, I think, right? So
I agree.
Yeah, and it's one of those, I think, at the same time too, so there's that, like, you get the eye rolls of like everything's a key issue these days, right? Because it's so and so's whatever, blah blah blah. But I think the more they diversify, you're less like what gets me out of bed for a key issue might not get someone else out of bed for a key issue because they just might not be bullish on whatever it is. Like, if it's I'll use like Star Wars, right? Star Wars High Republic stuff right now is a good example, I guess, of like floppy comics that people are kind of hot and cold on, where like, there are a slew of new characters in a lot of these books, and some people are running out and grabbing them, and other people are like, oh, whatever, and everybody's rolling the dice on different books, which I like. So I think if they diversify what they're putting out, even if it's a key issue, as long as it's kind of like different worlds.
Yeah, I mean to give that example, right? Like DD25, if it shot up to 25, $30, and then you see X-Men 129, I just checked it, it's $20. Come on, guys, which one would you
Yeah.
buy? So,
Exactly.
we know this four right here knows where to put our money, right? So
Yep.
so that's where, and the bots will probably chase that, and some of them will even try to buy the SRs for that DD25. Good luck, you're not going to be able to sell it, right? So
Well, think about a bot today when Daredevil 25 dropped, they were buying the floor up constantly at 25 and 30. Those bots are now sitting with $30 copies that are worth 12 gems and 14 gems.
Yep.
So like legitimately, bots don't always win. And like what you said about the drops being varied, those guys don't know shit about it. They know stuff about technology and they know stuff about hustling and stuff like that. I'm not taking anything away from them. They probably have their own talents, but they don't know shit about comics.
I feel a little better now after this.
Yeah,
I
me
knew-
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew once we had this conversation, and for anybody watching, quick plug, the most recent article that I wrote that's on the website, right, NFTMP.com, I go over this idea of doing your research as a consumer, whatever it is, like whatever's your thing, just make sure, whatever you're voting with your dollar, just make sure that you're aware of what you're getting yourself into. Otherwise, you're going to get got, or part of me looks back at that article is like, maybe I shouldn't have written that because
You're giving away our secrets. You're giving away your secrets.
yeah, like we benefit from not sharing this information. And I think anymore, if it's a matter of us keeping quiet and talking about other things, and being able to beat the bots, or sharing all of our secrets so the guys that are running the bots can take all this information and then program their bots accordingly. Like that's so I think here's why I'm optimistic. I think the only reason why I'm optimistic is that I genuinely believe that even in the post market, because of the way things have been settling, for the most part, you can still catch a come up. It's just harder now. You just have to, like Sean, you had said this earlier, it's just a little bit of work. Like you have to make sure you know what you're buying, how much you're spending, and why you're buying it, and have a budget. Whereas before, I wasn't around when this era happened, but in the world of $3 Marvel Comics ones, and you could just kind of like, I'll buy 10 books for $30. Like that's just not a thing anymore. So you just have to be a little bit smarter, right?
Yeah, and I think that's super important because I talked to Sean earlier in the day. I was like, well, what's your price point right now for Gwen Stacy? And we're like, and I think it's important that you stick to trading your plan. Because I was like, if Gwen opens at 200, I'll get one. If it's 100, I'll get two, maybe three. And she flew. I actually picked up I think a 1K mint for 125 out of the gate, and then it flew up to 200. And I was like, well, I've got my one. I won't FOMO in very bad because you don't know when the train stops. We said 400 could be a reasonable piece, and then what happens? It rockets back down, and now I'm sitting on 3 because that 200 ends up being roughly 2 additional ones. Now that they're like 110, so now I've got 1 to flip, 1 for the PC and the low mint, and then 1 if it continues to grow long term to flip, right? And so
I like having 2 and 3 for stuff. Like I really think deeply about that when I'm going to buy into something and keep it long term. I won't buy into it unless I don't think I'll be able to eventually afford having 2 or 3 of them.
Because I'm like nothing more. I get 2 attached. If I only have 1, I probably am not selling it. So I got
And
my
that's
third.
why. Yeah. I'm a deep collector. I love collecting. I mean, look at my freaking background.
Yes.
It's just one room in my house.
You see my walls because they're all hidden. I don't want anyone else to find them.
Yeah, so speaking of what to buy, we'll segue right into money well spent. So we got some new rules for this week to sort of streamline some of this. Here's the deal. We're going to pretend like we each have $1,000. All right? So we each have $1,000 in our wallet, and you get 3 purchases, essentially. So you got 3 shopping carts. Shopping cart 1, you can only have 1 item. Shopping cart 2, you can have 2 items. And shopping cart 3, you can have 3 or more items. and we'll go from there. Because I like last week we started repeating stuff and it kind of gets a little wacky. So I feel like these rules might make it a little bit easier. So Nathmar, we're going to start with you. Let's go. So 1 item, 2 item, and 3+ items. How are you spending $1,000?
All right. For 1 item, I picked out Wonder Woman. It's gone down. I think there's a couple under 900, like between 900 to 1,000. The DeLorean UR, it was 1,700 just 2 weeks ago. Now it's $1,000, so it went down.
Oh wow.
Supergirl also just dropped. I see it now in the 1,000. I think it's 1,000 floor. It was 1,700 also just a few weeks. For 2 items, I picked out ASM rare collectible and a Slimer. I think ASM rare is like $700. The Slimer's around 200, so that's 1,000. Or you can do the USS Enterprise D. That's I think around 700-800 also, and a board that's around 200. Or from a comic perspective, an FFR1 UR and an FF1 common. You know, those two. If you get one, because I think FFR UR is like 700. The common is like probably 200, so that's close to 1,000. For the 3+, I would say an ASM1 comic, an FF5 comic, or an FF1 comic. So any of those 3, I think those are gonna be between 200 to 300. Get those 3 together, you got the big 3. You know, that's like near $1,000, and you got it covered, the big 3, right? So
Nice. Sean, what about you?
For my 1, I said Wonder Woman as well. I mean, the fact that it almost touched $2,000 and now it's sitting at 1,000. I mean, if we don't do something, somebody else is gonna. So that's pretty obvious to me. And then for 2, I said just grab 2 MC1s to make it simple. That way you have 1 to sell and 1 to keep for yourself.
Yep.
And then for 3, I said just grab for you could either do 1 of each of these, or you could do all of them, just like 3 of 1. So like I did Strange Academy 1, Storm, and Spider-Gwen, and I would just get the lowest mint you possibly could in each of those 3, because I feel like that's just the future of what we're doing. I feel like the low mints, I mean, I monitor them a lot, and as much as I used to say it affects price a lot, I am even more adamant about that now. And if people don't want to listen to that, that's their own boat. They have their own plans, but that's the plan I have.
Nice. Ray, what about you?
All right, so I'm on the same trend. Wonder Woman is my 1 item. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're trying to flip, it's got the low 2.5% flip, and you know it's going to go up. I think that's kind of a no-brainer for me. My second one is the Bat Croc. You could catch it for 1K earlier today. I don't know that you can anymore. A lot of people don't like it. I think Sean's in my camp, though. I love it. I think it's great. I think it'll be the 3rd or 4th Batman at some point. And I think that's, again, I think that has a lot of room to move. The 2 items I picked, the first one was the Spider-Man Uncommon, which is now down to like 650, or the Spider-Man Common if you can catch it at 700, and then a Robin, which hit 200. So I think you get those 2. The Robin would be my flip play, and then the Spider-Man Common, Uncommon, we all kind of agree you need to have at least 1.
Yep.
And then for the 3, I said the Marvel 1 comic at 450. I think, and again, my mindset's kind of, well, what can I use to put a little bit into the PC and then also have a little bit to flip afterwards? And so looking at that, I had Marvel 1, Spider-Gwen, if you can get it for 110, I think in 24 hours you could probably make 40, 50 gems off of that. And then 1 no-tech hoverboard. And then lastly, in honor of Sean here, I said a sub 300 mint Strange Academy 1, which is right at about 300 right now.
I definitely snagged one of those. So. No.
Oh, did you? I got a 500 mint for the uncommon, just because that's for my PC. I just love that variant. But I'm looking. I think Strange Academy 1. I think it's kind of a deep play. And I think that the other option is, as Strange Academy 1 hits $20, just load the boat on like 10 of those at $20 a pop, and then it hit 30 already, you're kind of guaranteed to make at least 30% in the coming future. But that's me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're seeing like those ASM non-key issues for Craven's Hunt, I mean, they bump up to 30 almost every other day. They bounce back and forth between 20 and 30. And if like Strange Academy 1, one of like the top 100 keys in the modern era, can't do that, then VeVe doesn't make any sense, and I'm gonna have to like reevaluate what the hell I'm doing. Like,
yeah, I the not make any sense thing. I admit I got it wrong bad on these Mickey Mouse drops this weekend. Like I was so far wrong on what I thought was going to happen, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like the Mickey, I don't get why that Mickey card is like a 560, 600, 650 gem card. It just doesn't make sense. Like I get the Walt, and then I get the Steamboat Willie, but like Steamboat Willie isn't that much more expensive than the Mickey card. And I know people were like, well, the Mickey card plays music and it's color. And at that point, I just feel like we're just moving the goalpost a lot. But I understand why like the Mini and the Donald, I get why those are popping off. But yeah, like some of the stuff that's going on with VeVe, I'm kind of out to lunch on. Like, I just don't know. But here are my spends. If I have $1,000, one shot, I'm going with you guys. Either like Wonder Woman, I think, for more of a short-term play because of the commission rip. But if you don't have an ASM collectible, I think that's priority number one is grabbing that. Even if I think because it was as high as like $950 today. And then like another short-term play is Harley Quinn. Like if you've got a bunch of Wonder Womans and you're just bored, then maybe that Harley Quinn has gotten as high as like $1,300 or $1,400. My two items, Sean, I'm right there with you on two MC1s. I think is just a solid move. I think an ASM uncommon collectible and an ASM 1 comic might be a nice little move. Or an MC1, a Marvel Comics 1, and a Mini together. I really like Mini. For me, I don't like the idea of it being 500 plus. I think if more Disney stuff drops, I just don't know what's going to happen to it. I definitely see it as like a $300 collectible all day long, though.
Oh, that's right. I think one more thing with those minis, because they categorize it as a FE, like a first edition, and it's not a first appearance. So I think that might also cap its upside, right? So
yeah, it's tough. Like if you spend $500 on this thing,
and then they do a drop for a mini first appearance later, this is gonna tank, right? So
and they kind of said they were gonna do that. They one of the posters, I forget who it was from VeVe, they made a post and said that these aren't first appearances because there will be or they're not premium digital statues, and there will be digital statues like that. So like they do have plans to do that. It's just
and if you're gonna,
they could make a lot of money doing this first.
yeah,
because here's the thing: if you're gonna look at the Mickey poster. Or then let's just use Mini. If you use the Mini poster and say that that's her first appearance, then technically every comic book that has been released is the first appearance of all of those characters. But they're not going to do that.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's just something to be mindful of as a collector. If the company is saying these are not first appearances, you reserve your right to be like, I don't care. I'm calling it a first appearance anyway, and I think it's important, so I'm going to buy it. Fine, go for it. But do not be surprised if, when they drop a statue and they call it a first appearance, that you lose a ton of money. It just is what it is.
So is there no poster that's a first appearance? I'm trying to look now. Is there any?
No, I think they're all FE, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
I think they're all first edition, not appearance.
Well, they're trying to only say statues can only be the first appearance.
At least the comics stay first appearance in the first sentence on them. So like for me, that makes me feel good for those. You know,
right. And that's like the big question. So with that in mind, I would still go MC1 and a Mini just because I think the Mini one's cool. Well, I don't know. Should I say why I think the mini one's cool? I'm not even sure. I don't want to give away the goods on the show now because we made the rule, right? I'll share it with you guys.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You're probably, yeah. So
Well, I think this might turn out to be down the road 10 years from now. We can argue that, hey, this is the Hulk 180, 181 of Mini and Mickey.
I agree with that.
Everybody's going to argue the statue was the first appearance, but we know here, hey, you know what? Mini poster came out first, so this is the true first appearance, right?
right.
I totally believe that for sure.
Right. Now, if I was going to do 3 or plus items, I would stick with the Holy Trinity, Marvel Comics 1, ASM 1, FF 1. If I wanted to mix things up, I would somehow throw in a Marty board, a Mini, a Storm, or a Spider-Gwen, like interchangeably, matching price points. That's where I'm at with those. So that is money well spent. Do you guys have any last-minute purchases that just occurred to you that you think might also work? If not, then we will move on.
For me, I think one of the best, and I'll put it out there because I finally got one, so I don't care. People go buy them if they want. It was way out of my price range for a while because they were pushing 1K, and they were sitting at 600-700 for a long time. And that's the ASM 361 Ultra Rare, and it has Spider-Man in the symbiote suit. Well, once they launched Kraven's Last Hunt and they showed that they're putting out Spider-Man's Black Suit series, and that's like 6 issues of it. I mean, I know there's a lot of the issues, but they've already put out like almost a dozen of his Black Suit issues already. And it's clearly hinting at the fact that they're going to drop ASM 300 soon because they've dropped more issues closer to that number than any other ASM issue in his whole run. Yeah. And that ASM 361 Ultra Rare, it's the first appearance of the symbiote as an NFT. I don't care what anybody says. So I'm going hard on that.
Nice.
I'm going to take an alibi because Nothmar is going to talk about one that I think is a really good pickup here soon, but I think he's about to catch it in the next segment. So I'm going to hold off and then I'm going to fully come behind them afterwards. But Nothmar has a good idea caked up.
All right, so we're going to go. So we'll move on to top 5 quick picks for the week, and then Nothmar will start with you.
Top 5, I will go with the FF Mighties. The thing is still very cheap. I like the Assassin. That's the red rabbit with the dagger. I think it's pretty cool. It's only $300 or less. And then there's the DeLorean common. I think that's still, is it 100 or something? For comics, I like Iron Fist 14 SR. It's dipped now. I see a couple of them for 500. So those are still, because they went up to 900. I think the past 2 weeks. New Mutants UR, I think those are still cheap. The common uncommon for the first Black Widow, Tales of Suspense 52, common uncommon rare, I think are still undervalued.
Nice. Ray, what about you?
I just want to say the Iron Fist 14 secret rare. Didn't you mention that?
Yeah,
that's the. I know I dropped out for a second, but that was my. I think that's a great pickup right now, right at 500. So comics wise, looking again at the week for movement, I think Strange Academy 1. I want to see what it does now that we've had the drops. I want to see it move. I think Fantastic Four 1 has a lot of room to move. I mean, Carmen said it, I think, on the chat where FF5 briefly passed Fantastic Four 1, which is crazy to me. So I think those 2 comics are actually what I'm looking at right now, just in general for movers this week. Collectibles wise, as a general thought, I want to see what season 1 collectibles do now because we're kind of coming on the back end of several big drops. We had the Batman drop, and then it was kind of this drawn out. Now everyone knew the Disney drop was coming, but that's done. The Marvel Mighties is done. I guess we could wait to see if the stamps have any impact. It's $120 for that drop, right? 120 gems. But on the back end of that, I would expect to see season 1 collectibles and those first appearances that are blue chips start to see that trend back up. So Wonder Woman, Bat Croc, all of the Spider-Man first, season 1s, Batman season 1s. That's what I'm looking at this week because for me, it's going to be kind of confirmation of the trend of what happens post-drop, right? have enough people like Nothmar and and us have concerns where they're not going to continue pumping the market. But I mean, we know that there are gems sitting in accounts. People sold nonstop. That those gems have nowhere to go currently, and eBay is certainly a route. But those gems have to come back to the market at some point, or as we've seen, you get left behind in the market as the new investors come in. So for me, this week, collectibles, I want to see what happens with what we consider those tier 1 and tier 2 kind of blue chip, if you will, collectibles.
Nice. Sean, what about you?
For the collectibles, I did Partners and Goofy at the top, just because they were both hit their own all-time high. I mean, Goofy hit 6K and Partners hit 43K, I think, at one point, which is like nuts. Spider-Gwen, Mighties, that hit 220 out gate. I mean, depending on when you grabbed it, if you flipped it or if you just grabbed a low mint, I mean, there's some good opportunities there. The bot walls went down for a while, so there was definitely some good opportunities. The Spider-Man Mighty surprised me. I thought that was insane that was like $400 at one point. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how that happened. That went under my nose completely. Like, I didn't even think about that one. And then C3PO, I mean, that seems to be like the gold standard of like stableness. Like, and it even increased while other things were falling. So I was like, what the hell? But I don't have one of those. So, and then for comics, I did same reasons for 1 and 2. I did Ultimate Fallout 4 common and uncommon because I monitored the prices of the top 10 comics the whole time this past week, and Ultimate Fallout 4 common and uncommon by far held their ground the best. I mean, even right before these big drops, Ultimate Fallout 4 common still stayed above 100 when everyone else was like, I mean, Fantastic Four 1 hit 150, ASM 1 went below 200, and Ultimate Fallout 4 was still 120 and 100, and the uncommon was over 200 still. That's wild. Like, that's absolutely stable. And then Strange Academy 1, all of them. I think that's a sleeper pick. I think if you snipe low mints, and not break the bank, but just pick them off close to floor, I think you can build some value there and stretch your value. The Craven's low mint set, that's kind of like my sneaker pick. If you have all 6 of the commons, you technically have the first full storyline ever released on VeVe. And I know that doesn't seem like it matters now, but I think as years go by, I believe collectors will be like, oh man, did you know that they actually released a full comic series at the end of year 1 when they were doing their first year in beta? I think that will be something that people will want to buy, especially because they said that they're going to sell sets. And I don't know if they're ever going to add comic sets, but I feel like it's a likely thing that they do once they have more free time and more capital to do stuff with. And then my last pick, I did ASM 361 Ultra Rare. It's down at $400 right now, and I mean, it's been double that price before. I think as far as Spider-Man keys go on VeVe, if you want to grab something, a little more expensive, but not like thousands of dollars, I think that Ultra Rare with the symbiote on the cover is going to be a stellar grab because it also imitates a secret rare. It has the same white background that the valuable secret rares have. So there's going to be collectors once the comic's going to be put up on the wall. For sure, there's going to be people that want that to go with the Carnage secret rare.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with almost, like, I think we're all on the same page with a lot of this stuff. Walt, all-time high, give it even during the bloodbath, like over the past 2 weeks, I think went from like 25K to 44K or something crazy. Off the back of that, I was looking at all of the other golden moments. C3PO, I don't understand it. Like, I don't know why. For a really long time, Elsa was far out in front of him by like 300 or 400 gems for forever. And now he's blown by her. And what's even crazier is normally he's almost half the value of R2-D2. And now he's worth more than half the value of R2-D2. Now, that could just mean that he's just become more popular, or like it's kind of cyclical. We might see R2 then, take off and then become a 9K collectible, and then it just sort of circles back and repeats. But I would say Walt, C3PO, the Mickey cards, specifically Donald and Goofy, seem to be the real money cards. The Mickey one I don't understand, but Mickey's doing well too. That one's just breaking my brain. And I guess for all my indie people, I don't have one, but I've been paying attention to it. The Vulture is just chugging along. Like, I think it is almost always around $300. Like, it just, I don't know if it's because there aren't that many of them. I think we've talked about this before, that indie collector market is a much different world. So I think the way that moves is a lot different than especially what I'm used to in like the pop culture comic book world. So I had to sort of bring that up. As far as comics are concerned, Sean, dude, I mean, Ultimate Fallout 4, you've been saying it for forever. I'm going to continue to just beat that drum. You are absolutely correct. That uncommon and common, it's just a book that I've had as many as like 3 or 4 of each. I now only have 1 of each. I'll probably end up getting more eventually, but you just know what you're getting. Like, you know, you're going to get a book that's going to be around 120. If you get lucky and it makes a run, it's going to go up to maybe 170. But if it falls, it'll probably fall back around between 115 and 120 and just stay there. Same thing with the uncommon. It'll go maybe as high as 250. It'll be really rare, not unheard of, but it's not really going to hang below 2 for too long. So if you're just trying to build your portfolio long term for something that's going to be a nice steady gainer, it's probably those 2 books. And I'm picking these 2 books because not so much of their movement up, but just of their movement nowhere when everything else was kind of bleeding out all over the place. Strange Academy 1 and FF5. Just, I don't know why. Part of me is like, I think I know why at some points it's more valuable than FF1. There are half as many, and Doom is just cool. But at the same time, I also don't know if FF1, once we get a movie that's a Disney production and it's just done right, if then all of a sudden people are like, oh, wait a minute, Fantastic Four are awesome.
Oh, that's a key. I forgot.
Oh, I forgot that it's the, like, you know, a 2.0. What's a 2.0 graded? Like 25 grand now?
Oh man, don't tell me. I sold that 2.0 2 years ago. Do not tell me.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, here's the thing too, though. Doom. I remember looking at a Doom on eBay and just being like, "Oh man, it's a 5.0. They want $3,500 for it. I don't know." I mean, now that's what, a $15,000 comic.
Yeah, now it's astronomically higher. Yeah,
it's like crazy. But so those are my quick picks. Now, I was gonna talk about, like, so we'll move on to verses real quick, and then we'll do some final thoughts. Because I have been seeing some people post things, and I guess these are the most comparable. If you had to pick between, and the price points are kind of similar too. Between if you have $200, right, and you're looking at Ultimate Fallout 4, Fantastic Four 5, or Fantastic Four 1, what do you pick?
You're gonna get somebody angry here. So
right, where are we on those? So Nathmar, what do you think?
Sorry, Sean, I'm picking FF1.
Nice. Sean,
FF1, well, I mean, FF1, I mean, it's one of the mega grails, right? So I know UF4 is the modern grail, but one of the grail of grails, along with MC1, is definitely FF1, I would say, along with Amazing Fantasy 15. I think those 3 are the top of the top.
Okay, Sean, what about you?
Agreed. I mean, as of now, right now, if I ever get like big chunks of money in from selling, you know, back collections that I have, the first thing I do is buy another MC1, because for me, that's going to be 10 grand eventually. I mean, there's so much money in the world. I don't think people understand how many people collect and how much money they spend. It's absolutely ridiculous. And as far as value goes, I agree with Nothmar. Buy Fantastic Four 1. If you don't have like 10 Fantastic Four ones right now. Like if you don't have double-digit Fantastic Four ones, start buying one every time you get a paycheck. Like there is no way that stays down in the hundreds. Absolutely no way.
Right.
And then, Ultimate Fallout 4, if you have extra cash, but mostly focus on those Silver Age keys. I'll agree with that.
Nice. Ray, what about you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Fantastic Four won. I think especially as once we start seeing mega comic collectors pull in, right, after MTL, once we get the mainstream comic collecting YouTubers that say, oh, by the way, I've known about this for months. I've loaded the boat. Here you can come reap your profits now that Fantastic Four one's only $1,000, right?
Right.
I think when they come in, what are they going to be looking for? Those books that they can only hope to hold in person. And I think that's Fantastic Four one. So I think that's kind of a no-brainer. And then between the other two, it's tough. I actually so I remember when FF5 and UF4 one were neck and neck, and Sean, thank God, talked me out of buying a bunch of other crap, right? And I got my one real low mint UF4 when I did. But I think that you should have equal, because it's hard to tell where the market's going to go, right? FF5 is a great key. Will Doom ever actually? He's coming eventually. What form he takes, I don't know, right? But we know Miles as an established character. It will be going forward. There's a lot of potential there. So I would probably have pretty consistent numbers between the two of them.
Yeah, I think more and more as the year goes, it's becoming more apparent that FF1 is probably the move out of every single book. I mean, MC1, yes, but that ship has sailed. When that book gets to $1,000, it's just going to become a question of, well, do I spend $1,000 on an MC1 or $1,000 on all of the other things, right? So there's just too much to shake up there, where I think FF1, especially when it was as low as like 150 today, or like that was my thing. I was like, if I'm not going to get any Spider-Gwens, I'm just going to buy a Fantastic Four 1 if it's still at like 150.
I almost do.
Yeah, I think that's everybody's like secondary option. And then after FF1, I think it's Ultimate Fallout 4. You know, what's the drop for today? Can I get it? Yes. If not, FF1, Ultimate Fallout 4. Done. Yep. Okay, so next one. And we'll just do this one real quick. Donald or Wonder Woman? Because they're close. What do we think? Nothmar.
I would go with I would go with I was gonna say Donald is like, because we did this exercise before, right? When we broke it down with Elsa and C-3PO, and I was surprised that I did pick Elsa before, and it looks like it was the right. Wait, is it the right call? Is Elsa more expensive than C-3PO right now?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Oh, shoot. So I was gonna say Donald has more is more popular with kids globally, but he's not a new character, right? Like my daughter likes Donald, but she knows Donald, but he's more familiar with like the Paw Patrol or the newer cartoons, right? So, but she does like Mickey. Wonder Woman is red hot still with the comic world. We all know that she's the big gun, so I would still stick with Wonder Woman. Are you on mute, Carmen?
Sean, what about you?
Wonder Woman. I mean, if the question's ever, is Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman more popular than so-and-so, I'm always going to answer one of those three. I mean, it's going to be hard for me to say otherwise, just because what movie gets remade every 10 years? Spider-Man and Batman, and who always ends up having to be in a movie? A strong female lead, and Wonder Woman's always going to be that for DC. It's always going to be her every time. Nobody cares about Donald. He's just part of the package. That's why people are spending money on him.
It's a good point. Ray, what about you?
I got to go Wonder Woman, 100%, no doubt in my mind. I think that, especially with the DCEU being, they're just pumping out great stuff right now. Peacemaker, little aside is I'm loving the show right now.
I watched the intro like over and over again. She was like, "What show is this? Replay that." And I kept replaying it. She was like, "This is the best thing I've ever seen."
Yeah, right. So, like, James Gunn is doing great stuff. Suicide Squad, great. The new Batman, I'm gonna go see it. It also looks great, right? Like, like if they can start getting that right, Wonder Woman is the Trinity. Once you start getting more recognition, it's a no. I mean, she's going to fly. And I think Donald Duck, Nothmar talked about it earlier, is that sooner or later the Donald Duck statue is going to come out. And it's be like, well, why do I want the playing card? We're not going to have the statue.
Yeah.
And then so like, you're going to handcuff. Yeah. So even on the quick flip, I think we know Wonder Woman can hit 2K because it's done it. I've got to go with what the market's told me performs well. What has only a 2.5% sale rate and is in a universe that's getting better over the past 2 years.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you guys. My only reservation with Donald or any of those cards, and I don't know how big of a deal the sound is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if for collectors that really matters a whole lot, that it's an NFT with sound. I don't know if that's going to carry weight over the next however many years where, this was the first, one of the first collectibles that had sound that went along with it, and the sound was custom. That I know, Steamboat Willie had it, and I guess Groot had it, and Deadpool. But yeah, I think Wonder Woman's for sure the move. So
I do want to. So sounds interesting. I'd be curious to know y'all's thoughts, because for me, I envision VeVe, which we all love the idea of, and it's, showrooms and the ability for people to walk through and interact. And for me, if I'm showing people my collection and I've got 4 collectibles side by side, and each of them are playing different sounds overlapping, and it's just not something. I don't know how much utility the sound's going to bring, and if it's not going to bring me that much utility, then I look at, well, is it the first? And this one just clearly isn't. It's just like, it's in the first 5, but it's a Donald Duck. I'm like,
Yeah.
Right. So, like, I think the sound's really cool right now because you can click on it and you can view the AR and you can listen to the sound. But, like, when it's sitting in my showroom, like, I don't know how much value I'm going to get out of having multiple things with sound blaring at me rather than having maybe just, like, a cool background aesthetic. I don't know.
Yeah.
And are people always gonna swoop Minnie and Goofy and Mickey first? So isn't Donald gonna get pushed down the list some?
Probably.
I
think the only reason why he wouldn't is just because he's a little more scarce. Like, there just aren't as many. I think he's a rare. Goofy, of course, is going to be the grail of that whole thing. But maybe the only thing that saves the Disney stuff like that is that. And it really wouldn't take too much for them to do, them just wave, and this is all speculation, right? Them just waving a magic wand and saying, hey, if you have any of these items in our theme park, they each grant you some sort of something. If you have this thing, you get 10% off at a snack stand or something that would carry with it some weight. And, they would just be printing money at that point, because the amount of money that they would make off of like rental fees and resales, it would definitely pay for whatever discount they were going to give, in park.
I'm still not sold that it's not the first appearance. I keep racking my brain that they're trying to differentiate a card with a collectible. But I understand they separated a comic and collectibles already, but these are all under the collectible like umbrella. Now you're suddenly breaking off an edition, with a first appearance. But we know all of the first appearance these are all NFTs. There's no differentiation of that, So I still think, in the end, even though maybe down the road we'll argue that this is the true first appearance of Donald Duck, Wonder Woman will still beat him, right? Wonder Woman, I still think, is a tier A character. She has her own movies. I don't think Donald can have his own movie by himself.
Wait, you're telling me what was it? He had a TV show at one point, right? Like the 3 little ducklings. Yeah, DuckTales. Yeah, no.
And Darkwing Duck.
But I would still say that don't sleep on Donald.
DuckTales and then see where we go.
I still say don't sleep on Donald. I think he's the first appearance of Donald Duck, and I think down the road it will explode because that is probably the first appearance in NFT.
Yeah.
Now, so this conversation kind of turned into like what we expect to see in the future. And I think over the course of the last week, we've all been chatting about our expectations. And we've got 10 minutes left, and I kind of wanted to explore that. As far as what we have left, like, you know, we've got MTL, we've got this lobby, and then we've got like an explanation of utility and the VeVe-verse, right? Like, we know the VeVe-verse is coming. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know if it's a Roblox type thing. We don't know if it's some sort of more game-ified sort of experience. We don't know if it's just our showrooms connected. You know, we don't have any of that information. So when it comes to information that we're going to be getting next, like if you are demanding answers right now, are you demanding answers about MTL, about the lobby, or about utility? Nothmore, if you had to pick.
I would say all three. I mean, MTL, come on, MTL is like we're pumping in money. We gotta be able to buy and sell and take out our profit. Otherwise, like we just gave away all of our money for nothing, right? So MTL is important. The lobby is important, but it has to be comprehensive because like I was thinking about some basic functionality of what a lobby would have to protect against bots. It's still possible that bots can get through and just pretend, hey, let me create another identity or create something. It has to be really comprehensive and saying, what's your full name? This is your ID, and you cannot have a multiple IDs of that in other accounts, right? So it has to be really comprehensive. Otherwise, people will find a way to cheat. I mean, the bots and auto clickers, you guys know I hate it, but I mean, we can't go to VeVe, let VeVe police it. It's not our job. Some people, it's money, right? So some people will do whatever it takes to make money out of it. So, let everybody decide how to deal with their own personal agenda. And if you want to be held accountable, let VeVe do it. It's not us. Just do what you have to do, but don't complain if your account suddenly gets frozen and then you lose all of your NFTs, or you can't join the VeVe market anymore, right? So do not complain. I think eventually we'll all be held accountable. I think if you do try to go against the system. So that's my rant.
Right. What about you? MTL, lobby, or utility? Where are you at?
I'm on MTL. I think that for me, as someone that's still hesitant right now to put in money for a couple different reasons, MTL. I expect there to be a temporary, at least, dip, right? As people sell, because everyone thinks there's going to be a dip. It probably creates a dip because everyone thinks there will be one. I don't think it's going to be very long. I think that we rock it afterwards because then we get the legitimacy that we need. But for me, I need to know that the money I've put in is actually an investment and I can pull it out if I need to. I can sell my comic books on eBay, but having to take the cut on gems, not great. So I need that stability, and I think it brings a lot of legitimacy to the company as an investor. Nothmore, I agree. I hate the bots, but to me, bots are making a killing right now. But then I think about, all right, so how many more realistic tier A first appearances are they going to be able to? You've got like the 181s, the AF-15, but we're pumping out 2 books a week. Pretty soon it's going to be like Strange Academy 3, Strange Academy 4. That just like, hey, if you want to read it, sure, but there's no, maybe 3 I think actually was a spec or something. I don't know, but you get what I'm saying though. Like eventually we're going to get to like these books that are only for people that want the full run, and then bots, by all means, pull up the book that's going to sell for less, because eventually we'll get to books that sell for a penny. What I don't know, right? It won't be a penny. There's still going to be money in the market to boost them probably above drop. But I just think eventually we get to a point where all the first appearances are done and the bots won't make money, not nearly as much as they are now. But I think for me, MTL, that's a priority. I need to hear about it. I need to see where it's at.
Nice. Sean, what about you?
For me, I can always like develop strategies to combat bots, and I can always change plans. And like, it doesn't mean I'll be successful, but at least I can attempt that. But without MTL, I can't do anything. Without MTL, I have to admit to myself I'm going to take a 20 to 40% loss on my investment, and I have to calculate that in and figure if I've made enough profit to even do that. Or also figure if I'm short selling myself and selling my shit too soon, because if we don't even have MTL yet, we have 0 legitimate users yet. Everybody this is a freaking Kickstarter. I mean, we're in beta still. We're not. This is a video game. So like until they legitimize this platform or do a crypto off ramp through some website means, or have the option to buy 500,000 gems in one go. Any of those 3 things would dramatically change the market for the better.
Right. Yeah, I think everybody wants MTL. Right now, as far as news is concerned, I'm actually less concerned with MTL only because we're chipping away at like the Immutable X stuff, right? So like, what just happened this past week gives me at least some pause for MTL coming, I hope, right?
Yep.
I'm actually more concerned about the lobby because I feel like it would bring more users in if everyone felt more comfortable about the bots. Like, and I think the lobby could, because of the NPC, right? Like the lobby could be protected if you use a CAPTCHA, or how do you have CAPTCHA?
KYC, any of that stuff.
Yeah. If you just did the CAPTCHA and you made it, it cost 100,000 MCP to be in on this drop. I don't know if these bots, yes, they have a bunch of accounts that are selling and buying gems, but I still don't think that they'll have enough MCP to compete every single week.
Yeah, they might compete initially from their hordes that they stacked, but they're not holding any items. Yep. They have a shit ton of back points, but they will spend those immediately. Say Pokemon or Warhammer or some big thing drops, they're gonna for sure try to get those early secret rares of the new brands because it's money. We all know that. And once that money's spent, it's gone.
That's what I'm saying. I think the MCP will have that one go where everybody who's using their bots is going to do their thing. But then after that, it's a whole nother ball game. And I think it'll level the playing field at least a little bit. Like the person who doesn't have a bot and still gets in, I guess with their one bot that they, that one account, but it's much different than, getting 10 and running, I heard some, running 70 bots to get 10 drops. Like that's still crazy. So there's that, right? Like I'm optimistic about the MCP. So I would just love if they were just to say, hey guys, we're expect a lobby in 30 days, expect a lobby in 2 months. We're going to try and get the lobby out in 2 months. That would be nice. And then maybe just something about utility. Like I know we've had these conversations about getting Omi to stake and so that you can rent, but I'm looking at the timeline and it's like, as long as you have enough Omi right now, like I don't know if you need $10,000 cash of Omi right now, because I think if we get conversations about utility in the next 6 months, I'll be shocked. If we get conversations about what the VeVe will look like in 6 months, I'll be shocked. And then if we have a conversation about what renting in the VeVe actually looks like, I don't expect that conversation to happen until like December. And by that time, I think Omi will begin its ascent. I wouldn't wait until all that stuff goes live to get Omi. I think that's probably not a great idea. But as far as the utility and the rental and the verse is concerned, I would like something relatively soon just so that we can plan. But I don't think we're going to realistically get it for another 6 months.
Exchanges would be huge too. Holy shit. Imagine how many people would want VeVe NFTs when they find out that there's a cryptocurrency on open market that's linked to Spider-Man. Just that.
Yeah, and it's such a pain right now to be able to get Omi.
It is. For the
Yeah.
average person, they think it's a scam. They're in the process, and they're like, "Fuck this! I don't want to get. I'm going to get arrested or something." Or they think they're breaking the law. It feels illegal.
It
like
does.
I know
the amount of transactions you have to do to get into the exchanges right now is ludicrous.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to speak to my ignorance in crypto and the exchange world, but I felt like the first time I bought Omi, I felt like I was in Ocean's 11. I was like, all right, so what do we do? I've got 30 seconds to, you know what I mean? Like, watching these YouTube videos, it was crazy.
Yeah. I'd have Herb walk me through it because I was so stressed out about it. I was like, Herb, save me.
Now, do we know what it takes to get onto a Coinbase? Like, I have no idea what that sort of on-ramp looks like. You know, at first I was like, oh, well, it has to be worth a certain amount. But then I look at Shiba and I'm like, all right, well, that I don't know how that got on Coinbase. You know what I mean? Does anybody know that can share with anybody who's watching?
Oh, I mean, we talked about it with Herb a while back, but I have to get back. I know there was a lot of, I mean, Coinbase. There's a lot of regulatory requirements that they have for like a token to be able to join Coinbase, or even some states, because there's some states like New York were very strict with some tokens. I mean, some people have complained in our group because they're so strict, but then I argue that they're strict because we don't want any like shit coins, right? And you don't want people getting scammed. You want them to be legit, et cetera, et cetera. But there's but some people have argued that the rules in some states like New York, it's too much. So I mean, I'd have to go back. I remember we did have that discussion, and I reviewed with Herb and Mike a while back. Like, we were arguing back and forth on why, like, some of these coins can't join Coinbase yet, or allowed in New York. But it's definitely, they have a lot of regulatory. Some of them are legacy, like older laws too. That when I looked at it, I did kind of agree that, yeah, it seems outdated. Yeah, we should improve it. Et cetera, et cetera. But then again, there's so many tokens though that are cryptos that are available in New York. So how can like Omi, who's supposedly making like what $100 million, can't afford to join Coinbase? I would question that, right? So,
yeah, they're projected for like another $1 billion of revenue this coming year. Like,
yeah, come on, dude. Like, if you have to spend like 80K or 200K, what's like 80K? That's like what they make in one drop, right? So I don't.
Definitely.
So I think maybe, hopefully in the future, I would love to get someone on who could sort of walk us through step by step.
We should have a crypto professional on here. We should invite somebody on here that could explain it for 5 minutes.
Herb or Mike, shout out. You guys should join the next call.
Yeah, because I know I do no one any favors. I'm like, I'm not a professional. I'm an ignorant idiot. This is what I think, right? So, all right. With that being said, it's 1 hour. We are going to head out. Everybody, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to drop a comment in the box. Feel free to email us at nftmpd.com. Also, please take a look at our top 5 lists. Take a look at some of the articles that have been posted, and please share this with your friends.
And feel free to personal message any of us on Facebook. We're glad to answer questions.
Absolutely. So again, we have Nathmar, Ray, Sean, and I'm Carmen. Have a good night, guys. See you later.
Night.